She stood there alone at the defense table, her hands trembling as she clutched a manila folder that looked like it had been through a washing machine. The prosecutor leaned back in his chair, smirking at his associate, gesturing toward her empty chair with theatrical exaggeration. "Go ahead," he said loud enough for the entire courtroom to hear. "Defend yourself. This should be entertaining." He thought she was broken. He thought stripping her of legal counsel by dragging out the proceedings until her public defender quit meant she would crumble. He even told the judge she was too confused to understand basic legal concepts. But the prosecutor forgot one crucial detail about Emma's past, specifically what she survived to get to this courtroom. When she finally opened her mouth to speak, the smirk didn't just vanish from his face. The entire room stopped breathing. "You are about to witness the most devastating self-defense in courtroom history." The air inside courtroom 6B of the Cook County Courthouse was thick and oppressive, smelling faintly of industrial cleaner and the anxiety of 100 previous cases. The fluorescent lights hummed a continuous, almost hypnotic drone. It was Tuesday afternoon, the kind of muggy August day in Chicago, where even the air conditioning seemed to give up halfway through its job. The scent that filled the room wasn't justice. It was exhaustion. For District Attorney Marcus Holloway, however, the atmosphere smelled like another easy win. Marcus adjusted the cuffs of his Ralph Lauren dress shirt beneath his charcoal suit jacket. He sat at the prosecution table with the posture of a man who had already won. His associate, a young woman named Jennifer Park, fresh from Northwestern Law, sat beside him, nervously organizing documents they probably wouldn't need. Marcus checked the time on his Apple Watch, a Series 9 that caught the light every time he moved his wrist, and let out a soft, derisive chuckle. 10 minutes late, Marcus muttered to Jennifer. Or maybe she's not coming at all. Wouldn't blame her. Jennifer looked uncomfortable. Should we ask the judge if... Ask the judge what? Marcus interrupted, his voice dripping with condescension. To delay justice because the defendant doesn't understand how this works? She had 6 months to prepare. She had a public defender until she drove him away with her paranoia. This is on her. Across the aisle, sitting alone at the defense table, was Emma Reeves. She looked smaller than Marcus remembered from the arraignment. She wore a simple navy blue dress that had clearly been purchased years ago, possibly for a job interview or a funeral. The hem was slightly frayed. Her hair was pulled back into a tight, practical ponytail. Her face was pale, the kind of pale that comes from too many sleepless nights. There were dark circles under her eyes, faint, but visible even from across the room. In front of her, on the scarred wooden table, sat a single manila folder, its edges dog-eared and worn. No briefcase, no paralegal, no stacks of legal precedent, just Emma and one folder. Her hands were folded in her lap, fingers interlaced so tightly that her knuckles had turned white. She stared straight ahead at the empty judge's bench, not looking at Marcus, not looking at the gallery behind her, not looking at anyone. "Look at her," Marcus said, not bothering to lower his voice. Several people in the gallery turned to look. "She looks like she's waiting for a bus, not defending herself against felony charges." Jennifer shifted uncomfortably. "Marcus, maybe we should..." "Should what?" Marcus leaned back in his chair, stretching his arms above his head like a man without a care in the world. "Feel sorry for her? She made her choices. She chose to ignore a restraining order. She chose to violate the terms of her custody agreement. She chose to break into her ex-husband's home. Those are facts, Jennifer. Facts don't care about sad eyes and bargain bin dresses." The bailiff, a heavy-set man in his late 50s named Officer Raymond Torres, who had worked this courthouse for 23 years and had seen enough human misery to fill a library, called out in a voice worn smooth by repetition, "All rise. The Honorable Judge Patricia Winters presiding." The room shuffled to its feet with the sound of creaking wood and rustling fabric. Emma stood slowly, her legs visibly unsteady. She gripped the edge of the table for support. Judge Patricia Winters swept into the courtroom, her black robes flowing behind her. She was a woman in her early 60s with steel gray hair cut into a severe bob and eyes that had seen every trick in the book. She was known in Cook County as the efficiency engine, a judge who valued speed, procedure, and an utter intolerance for wasted time. She had a reputation for being fair, but she had no patience for theatrics or delays. She took her seat, adjusted her reading glasses, and opened the file in front of her. "Be seated," Judge Winters commanded. The room sat. She scanned the papers in front of her, her lips pursed in concentration. Case number 24CR08847, the people of the state of Illinois versus Emma Louise Reeves. Charges include criminal trespass, violation of a restraining order, attempted kidnapping of a minor, and contempt of court. She looked up. "This is set for a bench trial. Are both parties ready to proceed?" Marcus Holloway stood smoothly, buttoning his jacket with the practiced ease of a man who had done this 1,000 times. "The people are ready, Your Honor." Judge Winters turned her gaze to the defense table. Emma stood up slowly. Her chair scraped against the floor with a harsh screech that made several people in the gallery wince. She cleared her throat. Her voice, when it came out, was soft. Too soft. I'm ready, Your Honor." Judge Winters frowned. She looked down at her notes, then back at Emma. "Ms. Reeves, I see here that you were initially represented by Public Defender Alan Marsh. Where is Mr. Marsh?" Emma's throat bobbed as she swallowed. "He withdrew from my case 2 weeks ago, Your Honor." "On what grounds?" "He said—" Emma paused, choosing her words carefully. "He said there was a conflict of interest. He didn't explain further." This wasn't true, of course. Alan Marsh had withdrawn because Marcus Holloway's office had buried Emma's case in so much paperwork, so many continuances, so many last-minute motions that Alan, who was handling 43 other cases, simply couldn't keep up. Marcus knew this. Emma knew this. But Alan had filed the withdrawal as a conflict of interest to avoid admitting the public defender's office was overwhelmed. Judge Winters sighed. She looked tired. "Ms. Reeves, are you representing yourself pro SC?" "Yes, Your Honor." "Do you understand that you are facing serious charges? Attempted kidnapping carries a potential sentence of 10 to 25 years in prison." "I understand, Your Honor," Emma said quietly. "Do you understand that you have the right to request a continuance to secure alternate counsel?" Emma hesitated. She looked down at her folder. "Your Honor, I've been waiting 6 months for this trial. Every time I tried to move forward, there was a delay. I can't afford a private attorney. The public defender's office has no one available. If I ask for another continuance, I'll sit in limbo for another 6 months, and I'll lose what little visitation I still have with my daughter." Judge Winters looked at Emma with something that might have been sympathy, but it was fleeting. She turned to Marcus. "Mr. Holloway, does the prosecution have any objection to proceeding?" Marcus stood again. He spread his hands in a gesture of magnanimity. "Your Honor, the people have no objection. In fact, we would prefer to proceed. This case has been delayed long enough. Ms. Reeves has had ample time to prepare, and if she chooses to represent herself, that is her constitutional right." He paused, letting a small smile creep onto his face. "Though I will note for the record that proceeding without counsel is inadvisable." There was a ripple of quiet laughter from the gallery. Emma's face flushed red. Judge Winters banged her gavel once. "Counsel will refrain from editorial commentary. Ms. Reeves, I am going to ask you one more time. Are you certain you wish to proceed without representation?" Emma looked at the judge. Her voice was steadier now. "Yes, Your Honor, I'm certain." "Very well." Judge Winters made a note on her pad. "Mr. Holloway, you may present your opening statement." Marcus rose. He didn't walk to the podium. He stayed at his table, one hand resting casually on the back of his chair, projecting an air of relaxed confidence. "Your Honor," Marcus began, his voice clear and authoritative, "this is a simple case. The facts are straightforward. The defendant, Emma Reeves, violated a court order. She ignored a restraining order issued by this very courthouse. She entered her ex-husband's residence without permission. She attempted to take her daughter, Lily Reeves, age 7, from that residence in direct violation of a custody agreement. He turned slightly, glancing at Emma, his eyes cold. The defendant will likely claim that she was acting out of concern for her daughter's welfare. She will claim that she was a loving mother driven to desperation. But concern does not justify breaking the law. Desperation does not justify kidnapping. Marcus walked forward now, toward the judge's bench, his hands clasped behind his back. Your Honor, we will present evidence that Ms. Reeves received clear, written notice of the custody arrangement. We will present testimony from the arresting officers who found Ms. Reeves inside the residence, holding her daughter's hand, attempting to leave through the back door. We will present testimony from the child's father, Dr. Nathan Reeves, who will explain how this incident traumatized his daughter. He paused for effect. And we will show that this was not an isolated incident. This was a pattern of behavior, a pattern of ignoring court orders, of prioritizing her own desires over her daughter's stability, of refusing to accept the consequences of her actions. Marcus turned back to Emma. The defendant sits here today without counsel because she has alienated everyone who tried to help her. Her public defender withdrew. Her family has distanced themselves. She is alone because she has made herself alone. The words hung in the air like a verdict already delivered. Marcus returned to his seat. The people are confident that the evidence will show, beyond a reasonable doubt, that Emma Reeves is guilty of all charges. Thank you, Your Honor. Judge Winters nodded. She turned to Emma. Ms. Reeves, you may present your opening statement. Emma stood up. Her legs were shaking. She gripped the edge of the table again, steadying herself. She didn't move toward the podium. She just stood there, her voice barely above a whisper. Your Honor, Emma began, her voice trembling. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know all the legal terms. I don't have a team of people to help me. I'm just a mother who loves her daughter. She paused. Her hands were shaking. I'm not going to argue with the facts that Mr. Holloway presented. I was at my ex-husband's house. I was holding Lily's hand. I was trying to leave with her. She took a breath. But what Mr. Holloway didn't tell you is why. Marcus stood up. Objection, Your Honor. Opening statements are not for presenting evidence. Ms. Reeves can explain her version of events during her testimony. Judge Winters nodded. Sustained. Ms. Reeves, please confine your opening statement to an overview of your defense. Emma nodded. She looked down at her folder, then back at the judge. I understand, Your Honor. I'll just say this. I broke the rules because the rules were breaking my daughter, and I will prove that. She sat down. The courtroom was silent for a moment. Judge Winters looked at Emma, then at Marcus. Mr. Holloway, call your first witness. Marcus stood, his confidence undiminished. The people call Officer David Brennan to the stand. The doors at the back of the courtroom opened. A police officer walked in. He was in his mid-30s, fit, with a clean-shaven face and the kind of posture that came from years of wearing a uniform. He walked to the witness stand, was sworn in, and took his seat. Marcus approached with a legal pad in hand. Officer Brennan, can you please state your position for the record? I'm a patrol officer with the Chicago Police Department, 14th District. And were you on duty on the night of March 17th of this year? Yes, I was. Can you describe what happened that night? Officer Brennan shifted in his seat. He spoke in the flat, rehearsed tone of someone who had testified many times before. At approximately 9:47 p.m., my partner and I responded to a call at 2847 West Linden Avenue. The caller, Dr. Nathan Reeves, reported that his ex-wife had entered his home without permission and was attempting to leave with their daughter. And when you arrived, what did you find? We found the defendant, Ms. Emma Reeves, in the backyard of the residence. She was holding the hand of a young girl, approximately 7 years old. The girl was wearing pajamas. Ms. Reeves was attempting to unlock the back gate. What did you do? I approached Ms. Reeves and identified myself as a police officer. I informed her that she needed to release the child and return inside the residence. How did she respond? Officer Brennan glanced at Emma. She became agitated. She said she wasn't leaving without her daughter. I explained that Dr. Reeves had sole custody and that she was in violation of a restraining order. She ignored me. My partner had to physically intervene to separate Ms. Reeves from the child. Marcus nodded, pacing slowly. Did Ms. Reeves resist? Not physically, but she refused to comply verbally. She kept saying that her daughter wasn't safe, that we didn't understand. She was crying. Was the child injured in any way? No, the child appeared unharmed. She was upset, crying, but there were no visible injuries. Marcus turned to the judge. Your Honor, I would like to enter into evidence the arrest report filed by Officer Brennan, marked as People's Exhibit A. Any objection, Ms. Reeves? Judge Winters asked. Emma stood. No, Your Honor. Exhibit A is admitted. Marcus handed a copy of the report to the court clerk. Officer Brennan, in your professional opinion, did Ms. Reeves pose a danger to the child? Officer Brennan hesitated. I wouldn't say she posed a physical danger, but she was clearly in violation of the custody order, and the child was distressed. Thank you, officer. Marcus turned to Emma. Your witness, Ms. Reeves. Emma stood up slowly. She picked up her folder and walked toward the witness stand. Her steps were hesitant. She looked at Officer Brennan, then down at her notes. Officer Brennan, Emma began, her voice quiet. You said you responded to a call at 9:47 p.m.? That's correct. And you said the call came from Dr. Reeves? Yes. Do you know how Dr. Reeves knew I was there? Officer Brennan frowned. I assume he saw you enter the residence. Did you ask him that? I don't recall. Emma nodded. She looked down at her folder, pulling out a piece of paper. Officer Brennan, do you remember what Dr. Reeves was wearing when you arrived? Officer Brennan looked confused. No, I don't remember. Do you remember where he was in the house? He was in the living room, I believe. Was he alone? Yes, the child was with you in the backyard. Emma nodded again. So Dr. Reeves was alone in the living room, and I was in the backyard with Lily. Is that correct? Yes. And the backyard is fenced? Yes. So if Dr. Reeves was in the living room, how did he see me go into the backyard? Officer Brennan opened his mouth, then closed it. I don't know. Maybe he heard something. Maybe, Emma said quietly. Or maybe he was expecting me. Marcus stood up. Objection, speculation. Judge Winters looked at Emma. Ms. Reeves, do you have a basis for this line of questioning? Emma nodded. I do, Your Honor. I'll establish it with later testimony. Then move on. Emma turned back to Officer Brennan. Officer, you said Lily was upset when you arrived. Did you ask her why she was upset? No. Did you ask her if she wanted to go with me? Officer Brennan looked uncomfortable. That's not relevant. The custody order was clear. But did you ask her? No. Did you ask her if she felt safe in that house? Ms. Reeves, I was there to enforce a court order, not to conduct a welfare check. So you didn't ask her if she felt safe? No. Emma looked down at her folder again. She pulled out another piece of paper. Officer Brennan, when you separated me from Lily, where did Lily go? She was returned to her father. Did you watch her go inside? My partner escorted her inside, yes. And did you follow up the next day to check on her? No, that's not standard procedure. Emma nodded slowly. So you don't know what happened to her after you left? No. Thank you, Officer Brennan. No further questions. Emma walked back to her seat. She sat down, her hands still shaking. But there was something different about her now. A small shift. A barely perceptible straightening of her spine. Marcus stood up again. Redirect, Your Honor. Briefly, Marcus walked toward Officer Brennan. Officer, Ms. Reeves seems to be implying that there was something unusual about Dr. Reeves calling the police. Is it unusual for a parent to call the police when their ex-spouse violates a restraining order? No, it's not unusual at all. Is it your job to investigate the motivations of every person who calls 911? No. Thank you. Nothing further. Officer Brennan was excused. Judge Winters looked at Marcus. Next witness? The people called Dr. Nathan Reeves to the stand. The doors opened again. A man walked in, and the energy in the room shifted. Dr. Nathan Reeves was the kind of man who commanded attention without trying. He was tall, over 6 feet, with broad shoulders and the kind of confident stride that came from years of being listened to. He wore a tailored gray suit, a crisp white shirt, and a burgundy tie. His hair was neatly combed, just beginning to gray at the temples. He had the kind of face that belonged on a university brochure: strong jaw, kind eyes, a hint of a smile that suggested warmth and approachability. He walked to the witness stand, placed his hand on the Bible, and was sworn in. He sat down, adjusting his tie, and looked at Marcus with the ease of a man who had nothing to hide. Marcus approached with the same casual confidence he had shown all day. Dr. Reeves, can you please state your occupation for the record? I'm a cardiologist at Northwestern Memorial Hospital. I specialize in pediatric cardiology. And how long have you been practicing? 15 years. Thank you. Now, Dr. Reeves, can you describe your relationship with the defendant, Emma Reeves? Nathan's face softened into something that looked like regret. Emma is my ex-wife. We were married for 8 years. We have one daughter together, Lily, who is 7 years old. When did you separate? We separated 2 years ago. The divorce was finalized 18 months ago. And what is the current custody arrangement? Nathan sighed, as if the memory pained him. I was awarded sole legal and physical custody of Lily. Emma was granted supervised visitation every other Saturday for 2 hours. Why was the custody arrangement so restrictive? Emma stood up. Objection. That calls for a legal conclusion. Judge Winters looked at her. Overruled. Dr. Reeves can answer based on his understanding of the custody decision. Nathan looked at Emma, then back at Marcus. The court determined that Emma was emotionally unstable. During the custody hearing, evidence was presented that she had been increasingly erratic. She made unfounded accusations. She refused to follow court recommendations for therapy. The judge felt that Lily's best interests required stability, which I could provide. Marcus nodded sympathetically. And did Emma comply with the visitation schedule? At first, yes, but over time, she became more confrontational. She would show up outside Lily's school. She would call me at all hours, accusing me of mistreating Lily. Eventually, I had to file for a restraining order. And the court granted that order? Yes, 3 months ago. Can you describe what happened on the night of March 17th? Nathan took a breath. I was at home with Lily. We had just finished dinner. I was cleaning up in the kitchen. Lily was upstairs in her room, getting ready for bed. Around 9:30, I heard the back door open. I went to investigate, and I saw Emma. She was in the hallway. She looked frantic. What did you do? I told her she needed to leave. I reminded her about the restraining order. She ignored me. She ran upstairs and grabbed Lily from her room. Lily was screaming. Emma was telling her that everything would be okay, that they were leaving. I followed them downstairs. Emma went out the back door with Lily. I called 911 immediately. Marcus walked closer to the witness stand. How did Lily seem after the police took Emma away? Nathan's voice broke slightly. She was devastated. She didn't understand why her mother was being taken away. She cried for hours. She had nightmares for weeks afterward. It's been really hard on her. Marcus turned to the judge. Your Honor, I'd like to enter into evidence the restraining order issued against Ms. Reeves, marked as People's Exhibit B, and the custody order, marked as People's Exhibit C. Any objection, Ms. Reeves? Judge Winters asked. Emma stood. No, Your Honor. Exhibits B and C are admitted. Marcus handed the documents to the clerk. He turned back to Nathan. Dr. Reeves, do you believe that Emma poses a danger to Lily? Nathan looked directly at Emma. His eyes were filled with what looked like genuine sadness. I don't think Emma is a bad person. I think she's unwell. I think she's incapable of putting Lily's needs above her own. And yes, I think that makes her dangerous. Not physically dangerous, but emotionally dangerous. Lily needs stability. Emma can't provide that. Thank you, Dr. Reeves. Marcus turned to Emma. Your witness. Emma stood up. She picked up her folder. She walked toward the witness stand, her steps slow, deliberate. When she reached the stand, she looked at Nathan. Their eyes met, and for the first time, Emma's voice was steady. Nathan, she said quietly. Can I call you Nathan? Nathan looked at the judge. Judge Winters shrugged. If the witness has no objection. I don't object, Nathan said. Nathan, Emma repeated, you said we separated 2 years ago. That's correct. Why did we separate? Nathan shifted in his seat. We had grown apart. We wanted different things. Did I want the separation? Nathan hesitated. No, you didn't. Why didn't I want it? Marcus stood up. Objection, relevance. Judge Winters looked at Emma. Ms. Reeves, where are you going with this? I'm establishing the context of the custody dispute, Your Honor. Make it quick. Emma turned back to Nathan. Why didn't I want the separation? Nathan sighed. You wanted to keep the family together. You thought we could work things out. Did you think we could work things out? No. Why not? Nathan looked uncomfortable. Emma, this isn't... Why not? Emma repeated, her voice sharper now. Nathan looked at the judge, then back at Emma. Because I didn't love you anymore. The courtroom went quiet. Emma nodded slowly. When did you stop loving me, Nathan? I don't know. It was gradual. Was it before or after you started seeing Dr. Sarah Chen? The room erupted. There were gasps from the gallery. Marcus shot to his feet. Objection! This is completely irrelevant and prejudicial. Judge Winters banged her gavel. Approach the bench, both of you. Emma and Marcus walked to the judge's bench. Judge Winters leaned forward, her voice low and sharp. Ms. Reeves, unless you can connect this to the charges against you, I'm going to sustain the objection and hold you in contempt. Emma looked at the judge. Your Honor, I can connect it. Dr. Chen is relevant to why I violated the custody order. If you give me 10 more minutes, I'll show you. Judge Winters studied Emma's face. 10 minutes, not a second more. And if you waste my time, there will be consequences. They returned to their positions. Judge Winters looked at Marcus. Objection overruled. Continue, Ms. Reeves. Emma turned back to Nathan. Who is Dr. Sarah Chen? Nathan's jaw tightened. She's a colleague of mine at Northwestern. Is she more than a colleague? We're in a relationship, yes. When did that relationship begin? About 18 months ago? 18 months ago was when our divorce was finalized. But when did the relationship actually begin? Nathan didn't answer. Nathan, you're under oath. Nathan's voice was quiet. 2.5 years ago. Emma nodded. So you were seeing Dr. Chen while we were still married. Emma, we were separated. We were separated for 6 months before the divorce was filed. You started seeing her before we separated, didn't you? Nathan looked away. Yes. Emma pulled a document from her folder. Your Honor, I'd like to mark this as Defense Exhibit 1. It's a credit card statement from our joint account, dated 3 years ago. Online, 14, there's a charge for $347 at the Signature Room, a restaurant at the top of the John Hancock building. Nathan, do you remember that charge? Nathan looked at the document. No. That's interesting, because I didn't make that charge. And when I asked you about it, you said it was a work dinner. Were you at the Signature Room for work? Nathan's face flushed. I don't remember. Do you remember who you were with? No. Emma pulled out another document. This is a photograph taken at the Signature Room on the same night as that charge. It was posted on the restaurant's Instagram page. I've highlighted 2 people in the background. She held up the photo. That's you and Dr. Chen, isn't it? Marcus stood up. Objection, foundation. We have no way to verify the authenticity of this photograph. Emma turned to Marcus. I can call the restaurant's social media manager to testify if needed. Judge Winters looked at the photo. I'll allow it, but, Ms. Reeves, you need to connect this to the charges. Emma nodded. She turned back to Nathan. Nathan, you had an affair, and when I found out, I was devastated. That's when you asked for a divorce, isn't it? Nathan's voice was cold now. Yes. And I didn't want the divorce. So, you made me look unstable during the custody hearing. That's not true, isn't it? Emma pulled out another document. This is the psychological evaluation that was submitted during the custody hearing. It says I exhibited signs of depression, anxiety, and paranoia. Do you remember who recommended this psychologist? I don't. It was you. You recommended Dr. Michael Strauss. And Dr. Strauss happens to be a close personal friend of yours, doesn't he? Nathan's jaw clenched. We went to medical school together. Did you talk to Dr. Strauss before he evaluated me? I may have mentioned that I was concerned about you. What exactly did you tell him? I told him that you were making accusations, that you were unstable. Emma's voice rose slightly. I was making accusations because you were lying to me, Nathan. I was unstable because my husband was gaslighting me. She took a breath, steadying herself. And then, at the custody hearing, Dr. Strauss testified that I was emotionally unfit to care for Lily. And the judge believed him because he's a respected psychologist, and I was just a hysterical woman. Marcus stood again. Your Honor, this is argument, not questioning. Emma turned to the judge. I'm almost done, Your Honor. Judge Winters gestured for her to continue. Emma looked back at Nathan. After the custody hearing, you were awarded sole custody. I was given supervised visitation. But that wasn't enough for you, was it? Emma, I only want what's best for Lily. Do you, or do you want to erase me from Lily's life so you can play happy family with Dr. Chen? Nathan's face went red. That's not fair. Isn't it? Nathan, when was the last time you let me see Lily? Nathan hesitated. You saw her 6 weeks ago. I was supposed to see her every other Saturday. That's 8 visits in 6 weeks, but I only saw her once. Why? You canceled the other visits. Did I? Or did you tell the supervised visitation center that I canceled? Nathan didn't answer. Emma pulled out yet another document. This is an email from the visitation center. It says that you called them 4 times in the past 6 weeks to cancel my visits, claiming that I had called you to cancel. But I never called you, Nathan. I never canceled. You canceled, and you used my phone number to make it look like I did. The courtroom was silent. Even Marcus looked surprised. Emma's voice was shaking now, but it wasn't from fear. It was from anger. You systematically cut me off from my daughter. You made me look unstable. You violated your own custody agreement by denying me visitation. And when I couldn't take it anymore, when I went to your house to see if Lily was okay, you called the police and had me arrested. You set me up, Nathan. Nathan's face was pale. That's not true. Then explain the emails. I was protecting Lily. You were becoming erratic. You were calling at all hours. I was calling because you wouldn't let me see my daughter. Emma's voice cracked. I wasn't trying to kidnap her, Nathan. I was trying to save her, because I know what you're doing, and I'm not going to let you do to her what you did to me. Judge Winters banged her gavel. Ms. Reeves, control yourself. Emma took a breath. She wiped her eyes. I'm sorry, Your Honor. She turned back to Nathan. Nathan, where is Dr. Chen right now? Nathan blinked. What? Where is Dr. Chen? Is she at work? I don't know. Is she at your house? Nathan's face went pale. I'm not answering that. Emma turned to the judge. Your Honor, I'd like to call Dr. Sarah Chen as my next witness. Marcus stood up. Objection. Dr. Chen is not on the witness list. Emma looked at Marcus. I'm representing myself. I didn't know I needed a witness list. Judge Winters rubbed her temples. Ms. Reeves, technically you're required to provide notice, but given that you're pro SE, I'll allow it if Dr. Chen is available. Bailiff, is there a Dr. Sarah Chen in the courthouse? Officer Torres checked his clipboard. There's a Sarah Chen in the waiting area outside. Emma looked at Nathan. I subpoenaed her 3 days ago. She's been waiting. Nathan looked like he might be sick. Judge Winters looked at the clock. We're going to take a 15-minute recess. When we return, we'll hear from Dr. Chen. Court is in recess. The gavel banged. The courtroom emptied slowly. Marcus Holloway stood at the prosecution table, his expression unreadable. Jennifer Park leaned over to him, her voice a hushed whisper. Did you know about any of this? Marcus didn't answer. He was staring at Emma, who sat alone at the defense table, her hands folded in her lap, her eyes closed. She looked like she was praying, or gathering strength, or both. Nathan Reeves walked quickly out of the courtroom without looking back. His confident stride was gone. He looked like a man who had just been blindsided. In the gallery, a few spectators remained. One of them was an older woman with gray hair and kind eyes. She was watching Emma with an expression of deep sadness. When Emma finally stood up to leave, the older woman approached her. Emma, the woman said softly. Emma turned, her eyes widened. Mom? The woman nodded. I came as soon as I heard. I've been sitting in the back. Emma's face crumpled. You shouldn't have come. I didn't want you to see this. Emma, I'm your mother. Where else would I be? Emma shook her head. I'm a mess, Mom. I'm a criminal. I broke the law. Her mother took Emma's hands in hers. You're not a criminal, sweetheart. You're a mother fighting for her child. There's a difference. She paused. I'm sorry I didn't see what Nathan was doing earlier. I'm sorry I believed him when he said you were unstable. Emma's eyes filled with tears. Everyone believed him. He's a doctor. He's respectable. I'm just me. You're not just anything, Emma. You're brilliant. You're strong. And you're about to show this entire courtroom exactly who you are. Emma wiped her eyes. I don't know if I can do this. Yes, you can, because I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere. The two women embraced, and for the first time in months, Emma felt like she wasn't alone. 15 minutes later, the bailiff called everyone back. Judge Winters returned to the bench, looking slightly more refreshed, but no less stern. Marcus and Jennifer returned to the prosecution table. Nathan Reeves sat in the front row of the gallery, his face ashen, and Emma stood at the defense table, her mother now sitting directly behind her. Ms. Reeves, Judge Winters said, call your witness. I call Dr. Sarah Chen to the stand. The doors opened. A woman walked in. She was in her late 30s, petite, with long black hair pulled into a neat bun. She wore a gray pencil skirt and a white blouse. She looked nervous. She walked to the witness stand, was sworn in, and sat down, her hands folded tightly in her lap. Emma approached slowly. Dr. Chen, can you state your occupation? I'm an attending physician in the cardiology department at Northwestern Memorial Hospital. And how long have you worked there? 5 years. Do you know Dr. Nathan Reeves? Sarah glanced at Nathan. Yes. How do you know him? We work together. We're both cardiologists. Are you in a romantic relationship with Dr. Reeves? Sarah hesitated. Yes. How long have you been in a relationship? About 2.5 years. Were you aware that Dr. Reeves was married when the relationship began? Sarah's face flushed. He told me that he and his wife were separated. But they weren't separated yet, were they? I don't know the exact timeline. Emma pulled out a document. This is the divorce filing. It's dated 2 years ago. Your relationship with Nathan began 2.5 years ago. So, the relationship started before the divorce was filed. Sarah looked down. I didn't know. Dr. Chen, do you live with Dr. Reeves? Yes, we moved in together about a year ago. Does his daughter Lily live with you? Yes. How often do you see Lily? Every day. She lives with us full time. Emma nodded. How would you describe your relationship with Lily? Sarah looked uncomfortable. It's complicated. Lily is a sweet girl, but she's been through a lot. She misses her mother. Does she talk about me? Yes, often. What does she say? Sarah glanced at Nathan again. He was staring at her with an intensity that made her flinch. She asks when she can see you. She doesn't understand why the visits keep getting canceled. Emma's voice was soft. What do you tell her? I tell her that her father is trying to figure things out. Do you think it's fair that Lily doesn't get to see me? Sarah's voice dropped to a whisper. No. Marcus stood up. Objection. This witness's opinion on the fairness of the custody arrangement is irrelevant. Judge Winters looked at Emma. Ms. Reeves, get to the point. Emma turned back to Sarah. Dr. Chen, have you ever witnessed Dr. Reeves being physically aggressive? Sarah's face went pale. I don't think I should answer that. You're under oath, Dr. Chen. Have you ever witnessed Dr. Reeves being physically aggressive? Sarah looked at Nathan. Tears welled up in her eyes. Yes. The courtroom erupted. Judge Winters banged her gavel. Order! Order! Marcus was on his feet. Your Honor, I object. This is a character assassination. Emma turned to the judge. Your Honor, this goes directly to why I violated the custody order. I wasn't trying to kidnap Lily. I was trying to protect her. Judge Winters looked at Marcus, then at Emma. I'll allow it, but Ms. Reeves, you'd better have evidence to back this up. Continue. Emma turned back to Sarah. Dr. Chen, can you describe what you witnessed? Sarah was crying now. It was about 2 months ago. Nathan and I had an argument. He was stressed about work. I said something he didn't like. He grabbed my arm, hard enough to leave a bruise. Did he apologize? Yes. He said he was sorry. He said it would never happen again. But it did happen again, didn't it? Sarah nodded. Last month, we were arguing about Lily. I suggested that maybe he should let Emma see her more often. He got angry. He threw a glass against the wall. It shattered. Some of the glass hit me. Emma's voice was trembling. Was Lily there? Yes, she was upstairs, but she heard everything. She came down and saw the broken glass. She saw me bleeding. What did Nathan do? He told Lily to go back to her room. He told her everything was fine, but Lily was terrified. Emma pulled out her phone. Dr. Chen, did you take pictures of your injuries? Sarah nodded. Yes. Why did you take pictures? Because I was scared. I thought I might need them someday. Emma handed her phone to the bailiff. Your Honor, I'd like to enter these photographs into evidence as Defense Exhibit 2. Judge Winters looked at the photos. Her face hardened. Dr. Chen, why didn't you report this? Sarah wiped her eyes. Because I was ashamed, and because Nathan is well respected. I thought no one would believe me. Emma turned to the judge. Your Honor, this is why I went to Nathan's house that night. Lily called me. Marcus shot up. Objection! There's no evidence of any phone call. Emma pulled out another document. This is my phone bill. On March 17th at 9:15 p.m., I received a call from Nathan's home number. The call lasted 4 minutes. She turned to Sarah. Dr. Chen, do you remember that night? Sarah nodded. Yes, Nathan and I had another argument. He was drinking. He started yelling. Lily got scared. She locked herself in her room. Did Lily have access to a phone? There's a landline in her room, an old one. Emma turned to the judge. Lily called me that night, Your Honor. She was crying. She said she was scared. She said Nathan and Sarah were fighting. She asked me to come get her. Emma's voice broke. I knew I wasn't supposed to go. I knew I'd be violating the restraining order, but she was my daughter, and she was scared, and I couldn't just leave her there. Judge Winters leaned forward. Do you have a recording of this call? No, Your Honor. I didn't think to record it. I just got in my car and drove. Marcus stood up. Your Honor, without a recording, we have no proof this call ever happened. This is all speculation. Emma turned to Sarah. Dr. Chen, did you see Lily with a phone that night? Sarah hesitated. She looked at Nathan. Then she looked at Lily's mother standing in front of her, desperate and broken. Yes. When I went to check on Lily after the fight, she was holding the phone. She said she had called her mom. The courtroom went silent. Marcus was speechless. Nathan's face had gone from pale to red. Judge Winters was staring at Sarah with an expression of barely contained fury. Emma's voice was quiet now. Dr. Chen, do you think I'm a danger to Lily? Sarah looked at Emma. Her eyes were filled with tears. No, I think you're the only person who's been trying to protect her. Thank you, Emma whispered. No further questions. Judge Winters looked at Marcus. Mr. Holloway, do you wish to cross-examine? Marcus stood up slowly. He looked at his notes. He looked at Sarah. He looked at Nathan. And then he sat back down. No questions, Your Honor. Judge Winters excused Sarah. She stood up slowly and walked past Nathan without looking at him. She walked out of the courtroom. The doors closed behind her with a heavy thud. Judge Winters looked at Emma. Ms. Reeves, do you have any other witnesses? Emma shook her head. No, Your Honor, but I would like to make a statement. You'll have your opportunity during closing arguments. With respect, Your Honor, I'd like to make my statement now, under oath. Judge Winters frowned. You want to testify? Yes, Your Honor. Marcus stood up. Your Honor, if Ms. Reeves testifies, she'll be subject to cross-examination. Emma looked at Marcus. I understand. Judge Winters sighed. Very well. Ms. Reeves, take the stand. Emma walked to the witness stand. She placed her hand on the Bible and was sworn in. She sat down, her hands folded in her lap. She looked small in the chair, fragile, but her eyes were clear. Judge Winters looked at her. Ms. Reeves, you may proceed. Emma took a breath, and then she began to speak. Your Honor, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know how to give a proper closing argument, but I know how to tell the truth. And the truth is this. I love my daughter. I love her more than anything in this world. And when I went to Nathan's house that night, I wasn't trying to kidnap her. I was trying to save her. Emma's voice was steady now. The trembling was gone. I know I broke the law. I know I violated the restraining order. I know I defied the custody agreement. But I did it because the law was failing my daughter. The system was failing her. And I couldn't stand by and watch her suffer. She looked at Nathan. Nathan is a good liar. He's charming. He's respected. He knows how to manipulate people. He manipulated me for years. He manipulated Dr. Strauss during the custody evaluation. He manipulated the court into believing I was unstable. And he almost manipulated everyone into believing that I'm a criminal. Emma turned back to the judge. But I'm not a criminal, Your Honor. I'm a mother. And when the system fails, when the law fails, when everyone fails, a mother does what she has to do, even if it means breaking the rules. She paused. You asked me if I understand that. I'm facing serious charges. I do. You asked me if I understand the consequences. I do. But I also understand that there are worse things than going to prison. And one of those things is abandoning my daughter when she needs me. Emma's voice dropped to a whisper. I'm not asking for your sympathy, Your Honor. I'm asking for your wisdom. Look at the evidence. Look at what Nathan has done. Look at the pattern of abuse, the lies, the manipulation. And ask yourself, who is really the criminal here? She stood up. I'm done. Thank you for listening. Emma walked back to the defense table. She sat down. Her mother reached forward and squeezed her shoulder. Emma closed her eyes. Judge Winters looked at Marcus. Mr. Holloway, do you wish to cross-examine? Marcus stood up. He walked toward the witness stand, then stopped. He looked at Emma. He looked at his notes, and then he looked at the judge. Your Honor, I'd like to request a recess. I need to confer with my office. Judge Winters raised an eyebrow. A recess, Mr. Holloway. We're in the middle of testimony. I understand, Your Honor, but in light of the evidence presented today, I believe the interests of justice require me to reconsider the charges. The courtroom erupted. Judge Winters banged her gavel. Order! Mr. Holloway, are you saying you're dropping the charges? I'm saying I need to review the evidence, Your Honor. I was not aware of Dr. Reeves's alleged abuse. I was not aware of the phone call from the child. If these allegations are true, then the context of Ms. Reeves's actions changes significantly. Marcus looked at Emma. I became a prosecutor to seek justice, Your Honor, not to punish victims. Judge Winters was silent for a long moment. Then she nodded. We'll reconvene tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Mr. Holloway, I expect a decision by then. Court is adjourned. The gavel banged. The courtroom emptied slowly. Emma sat at the defense table, too stunned to move. Her mother hugged her from behind. You did it, sweetheart. You did it. Emma shook her head. I don't know what I did, Mom. I just told the truth. Sometimes that's all you need to do. As they gathered Emma's papers, Marcus approached the table. Emma stiffened, but Marcus held up his hands. I'm not here to intimidate you, Ms. Reeves. I'm here to apologize. Emma looked at him. Apologize? I didn't do my job. I should have investigated Dr. Reeves more thoroughly. I should have questioned his narrative. I didn't. And because of that, I almost sent an innocent woman to prison. Emma's voice was quiet. What happens now? Now I go back to my office and review everything. But between you and me, I'm going to recommend that the charges be dropped. And I'm going to recommend that the DA's office open an investigation into Dr. Reeves. Emma felt tears welling up. Thank you. Marcus nodded. You're a hell of a lawyer, Ms. Reeves. If you ever want to go to law school, you'd make a damn good advocate. He turned and walked away. Emma looked at her mother. Did that just happen? Her mother smiled. Yes, sweetheart, it did. The next morning, Emma and her mother returned to the courtroom. The gallery was more crowded this time. News of the previous day's testimony had spread. Reporters sat in the back row, their notepads ready. Judge Winters entered. Everyone stood. She sat down, adjusted her glasses, and looked at Marcus. Mr. Holloway, what is the people's decision? Marcus stood. Your Honor, after reviewing the evidence and consulting with my superiors, the people moved to dismiss all charges against Emma Reeves. The courtroom erupted in gasps and murmurs. Judge Winters banged her gavel. Order! She looked at Marcus. On what grounds? On the grounds that Ms. Reeves acted in defense of her child. While her actions technically violated the restraining order, the circumstances, specifically the credible evidence of abuse in the child's distress call, constitute a necessity defense. The people believe that prosecuting Ms. Reeves under these circumstances would not serve justice. Judge Winters turned to Emma. Ms. Reeves, you are free to go. All charges are dismissed. She paused. Furthermore, I am ordering an emergency hearing on the custody arrangement. Given the evidence of abuse presented in this courtroom, I am temporarily suspending Dr. Reeves's custody pending a full investigation. Nathan, who had been sitting in the gallery, stood up. Your Honor, you can't do this. I have rights. Judge Winters glared at him. Dr. Reeves, you're lucky I'm not holding you in contempt. If you say one more word, I'll have you removed. Sit down. Nathan sat, his face red. Judge Winters continued. Ms. Reeves, you will have temporary custody of your daughter pending the outcome of the investigation. You will not leave the state. Is that understood? Emma could barely speak. Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. Judge Winters banged her gavel. We're adjourned. Emma collapsed into her chair. Her mother wrapped her arms around her. You did it, Emma. You got her back. Emma was crying. I can't believe it. I can't believe it's over. It's not over, her mother said gently. But it's a start. 6 months later, Emma stood in the kitchen of her small apartment, making pancakes. The morning sun streamed through the window, casting warm light across the worn linoleum floor. The radio was playing softly in the background. Everything smelled like vanilla and maple syrup. Mom, can I have chocolate chips in mine? Emma turned to see Lily sitting at the kitchen table, her legs swinging beneath her chair. She was wearing her favorite purple pajamas, and her hair was a tangled mess. She looked happy. She looked safe. "Of course, sweetheart," Emma said, smiling. She walked to the cupboard and pulled out the chocolate chips. As she sprinkled them into the batter, she thought about everything that had happened. After the charges were dropped, there had been a lengthy investigation. Nathan had been questioned by Child Protective Services. Sarah had testified about the abuse. Nathan's colleagues had been interviewed, and slowly the truth had come out. Nathan had lost his custody rights entirely. He was allowed supervised visitation once a month, but he rarely took advantage of it. He and Sarah had broken up. Sarah had moved out. Nathan was alone now. Emma had been awarded full custody. She was back in school, studying to get her degree in social work. She wanted to help other women who found themselves in impossible situations. She wanted to be the advocate she never had. "Mom, you're burning the pancakes." Emma snapped back to reality. She flipped the pancake quickly, laughing. "Sorry, sweetheart, I was daydreaming." Lily giggled. "What were you dreaming about?" "About how lucky I am." Lily smiled. "I'm lucky too, Mom. I'm lucky I have you." Emma walked over to the table and kissed the top of Lily's head. "We're lucky to have each other." As they ate breakfast together, Emma thought about the day in court. She thought about standing in front of the judge, terrified and alone. She thought about finding her voice when everyone expected her to stay silent. She thought about how close she had come to losing everything. But she hadn't lost. She had won. Not because she was a great lawyer or because she had money or connections. She had won because she had told the truth. And the truth, it turned out, was powerful enough to change everything. Later that week, Emma received an email. It was from a woman she didn't know. The subject line read, "Thank you." Emma opened it. "Dear Ms. Reeves, I don't know if you remember me, but I was in the courtroom the day you defended yourself. I was there because I'm going through a similar custody battle. My ex-husband is also manipulative and abusive, and I felt like I had no chance of winning. But watching you stand up and tell your truth gave me hope. It showed me that I don't have to be a lawyer to fight for my child. I just have to be honest. I wanted to thank you. Because of you, I found the courage to speak up. And this week, I won temporary custody of my daughter. You saved more than just yourself that day, Ms. Reeves. You saved me too." With gratitude, Michelle T. Emma read the email 3 times. Tears streamed down her face. She hadn't realized that anyone else had been paying attention. She hadn't realized that her story could matter to someone else. She typed a reply. "Dear Michelle, I'm so glad you found your voice. Never let anyone take it away from you again. Keep fighting for your daughter. She's lucky to have you. Emma." She hit send, and then she closed her laptop and went to play with Lily in the living room. Because at the end of the day, that was what mattered. Not the courtroom drama, not the vindication, not even the justice. What mattered was that she had her daughter back, and she was never letting go. The prosecutor had mocked her. He had called her unprepared. He had treated her like a joke. But Emma had shown him, and everyone else, that silence is not the same as weakness, that being underestimated can be the greatest advantage, and that when a mother fights for her child, no amount of legal maneuvering can stand in her way. She had defended herself when no one thought she could, and in doing so, she had not only saved her daughter, she had saved herself. If you enjoyed this story of a mother's courage, justice prevailing, and the power of truth over manipulation, please hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. Don't forget to share this video with someone who needs a reminder that your voice matters, even when everyone tries to silence you. Subscribe so you never miss a new story. Thanks for watching, and remember, the quietest person in the room is sometimes the one with the most to say. You just have to give them the chance to speak